guys, I am here today with this. This is the 2024 Mazda CX-50. Hey, so I drove the CX-50 when it came out a couple of years ago, and I had a lot of fun with it. This behind me is the Turbo Premium Plus, which is the highest trim of the CX-50. This means it's a little bit faster, a little bit fancier, and lots of fun. Let me show you why. Okay, so a lot of you are gonna go CX-50, CX-5, Mazda, what are you doing? I know, they're in the middle of changing their naming convention, so things are like a little wonky. But if you just think of it this way, like there's this CX-5 that's been around forever, but people kind of wanted more rugged, maybe off-road SUV. And so they came out with this, which is the CX-50, which rides a little bit higher, has some rugged details, but gives you a lot of what you love about the CX-5, and maybe even a few things that are better. If you're a current Mazda owner or a CX-5 driver, I would love to hear from you about what you love from that. Please put something in the comments. I'd appreciate it. So under the hood, we've got a 2.5 liter Skyactiv engine. Yes, this is Mazda, so you're gonna get all-wheel drive, yay! It's putting out, so again, this is the turbo, right? So this is putting out 256 horsepower and 320 foot-pound of torque. We've also got drive modes, so just if you've ever driven the CX-5, it's a nice driving car. It's nice and smooth. This drives differently than the CX-5. It's lots of fun. Of course, you can be totally civilized in the CX-50, and you can even go minor off-road. We'll talk about that in a minute. But then you can get kind of naughty. Put it in the sport mode, pop it into manual mode, and boy, this thing gets really, really peppy and really fun and really responsive. So if you're test driving that, please, 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 please use all those drive modes. And I also want to stop here for a minute. I hear a lot, my wife's lease on her CX-5 is about to come up. What should I get, and what's up with that CX-50? And I'm like, listen, try that sport mode, it's really fun. And I always hear, my wife doesn't care about sport mode. And I hear you. But if you could just do me a favor, just have your wife come on over here and watch it with me. And if you are the one watching, listen to me. But I'm a mom, and I'm just using this to run errands. It's just a mode of transportation for me. I don't really care about having fun, and I don't care about your sport mode, MotorheadMama. You're the car freak, not me. Just wait a minute. Just remember when you got your license. Remember when you didn't have responsibilities and you were in your maybe pretty crappy first car, and you would zoom around with the music blasting like you didn't have a care in the world. Find a car that can do that for you. Just when you don't have kids in the car, and maybe you just can have 5 minutes a week of having a blast. The CX-50 can do that for you. There are lots of cars that can do that for you, but I promise you, it'll help you with your well-being and mental health, and your family will thank me later. Don't forget to put it in sport mode. Sport mode is for everybody, not just the gearheads. So speaking of drive modes, yes, there's an off-road function in this car. And yes, compared to the CX-5, this has 8.6 inches of ground clearance to the CX-5, 7.9 inches of ground clearance. But let's not kid ourselves, guys. This is not an off-roading car. You can see my I took this car off-road and I did a little bit of towing in it. You can see my video here. But more accurately, a friend of mine said this the other day and I loved it. It's a soft roader, right? So I took it on some dirt roads, some gnarly, landslide areas here in Southern California during my test drive. But an off-roader, this is not. But sure, you can take it on gravel, you can take it on a fire road, and you're gonna have a great time. In terms of the driver's seat, listen, I think Mazda's done a good job in balancing screens and buttons here. It's super easy to make changes on the fly to the HVAC system, and to turn on the seat warmer and the steering wheel warmer, which is really nice, and the controls on the steering wheel, and then we've got backup controls here, which is great. There are a couple of things it doesn't have that kind of irritated me. If you're looking at this in comparison to the RAV4 or the Hyundai Santa Fe or any of the Kia products, this doesn't have the indicator where when you put on your, it's like a lane change camera, where if you put on your indicator, it'll show you up here via the camera what's in the other lane. That's a little bit of a bummer. But what it does have is wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, nice touchscreen system here, which is fantastic. Plus, in this turbo trim, the Turbo Premium Plus trim, we've got a 360 view camera, which I think is fantastic. I'm going to sound negative, but the backup cameras in the CX-50 are not as good as they are in the RAV4 or the Hyundai Santa Fe. I'm sad about that. But the good news is Mazda makes up for that in the drive. The drive, and also in the appointment of this cabin. There is a leather wrapped steering wheel. I've got a leather wrapped dash with exposed stitching. It all feels very, very premium. Like, my husband got in this car and he's like, "This is a Mazda?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is a Mazda." And I kind of felt like a commercial. Sorry about that. But it really did seem so upscale that we couldn't believe it was a Mazda. And when you put it in sport mode, boy, it drives closer to the MX-5 than a CX-5. Okay, so for the back seat, listen, it's not terribly comfortable, guys. I'm not gonna lie about this. You can fit 3 kids back here. You definitely can't fit 3 adults. It feels very bench seaty. There are 2 USB plugs. They are not USB-C, they're traditional USB plugs. In this trim, there are seat warmers in the back seat, which is nice. There's also an armrest with a cup holder, but you know, if I were a tall kid, like if you're driving a kid that's going to hockey practice and he's 6 feet tall and you've got to fit 3 of his buddies back here, they're not going to be happy. I don't know if you care. I kind of think kids need to suffer a little bit more, but that's just me. I'm Motorhead Mama. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe.